gonna jump right in. I am making a reading journal for the possibly third time. Fingers crossed that this time I stick to it. I think the reason that I didn't to begin with was because I was complicating things and I was making it a little bit too elaborate. So I'm going to dial things back this time and treat it a little bit more as like a rough journal / reading sketchbook. So yeah, I have these really beautiful printouts that I got from Lucy L's Patreon. I will link that in my description. She has this lovely Slavic inspired art, and yeah, I just printed these out and I'm gonna affix them to the cover. So to give a little bit of insight on what my plans are for this reading journal, I will have a few pages of sort of like statistics and infographic type stuff, and then I'll just jump right into a page for each book that I finish. I'm not sure if I'll record every book that I read in here because some books don't really inspire a lot in me. If the book is like really bad or if I DNF it, I probably will not be putting it in this journal. I will probably just rate them in my Goodreads and Storygraph, and that'll be it. But yeah, I'm planning on doing a page for each book that I choose to put in this journal, and then kind of doing a rough sort of quick sketch or drawing of something from in the book and my own imagination. So yeah, I'm hoping this will kind of help me with a little bit of creativity and hopefully just keep me on track with my reading, which has suffered a little bit recently. So obviously the first page here is just my name, and if you happen to notice, I did in fact change my YouTube name again. I've had a little bit of a time trying to land on what I wanted my page to be called because I'm trying to think of things like for my shop and other stuff in the future, but for now I felt like it's probably just best to keep it strictly to my name. So hello, I'm Victoria Ansaldua. You can call me Toria or V, and this is my YouTube channel. Now, as you can see, I had already kind of gone ahead and rough sketched some of these things out so that I could just come in and outline them later. This is my rating key. It's very scientific. I'm definitely not just like a mood reader who rates things based on how she feels. No, I'm very, very scientific about how I rate books. I had also picked out this really nice color scheme, and again, just trying to not take this too seriously. There are going to be some wonky lines and some mistakes, and yeah, past Victoria definitely was feeling a little anal at certain points, but trying to let go and embrace the imperfect. In all seriousness, I do try to be as fair and objective as possible when I'm reading a book, although occasionally I will be a little bit salty if it's deserved. I oftentimes will rate a book mostly just on its content and try to avoid getting too much into the weeds of like, oh, this person had a lot of grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm not a writer. I'm not going to critique that too harshly. 1 star generally means that I really, really hated this book. 2 is like there were good moments, but overall it just left a bad taste in my mouth, or it wasn't well written. 3 is good moments and good plot, but some still obvious flaws. 4, almost perfect, and 5, I mean, I'm probably screaming from the rooftops about this book if I rated it a 5. Next up, we have my to be read list, which is fairly self-explanatory. Essentially, if it's on my shelf and I haven't read it, it's going on this page, or pages, because there's more books there than I would like to admit. And if you're wondering why this portion of the video is extremely zoomed in, it's because my massive forehead made a cameo yet again. But anyways, moving on. This is my wish list page. Again, pretty self-explanatory. If I want a book, it's gonna be written down here. Speaking of books I want, if you are also a reader, and remember, even if you read one book a year, you're still a reader. If you have a book that you highly anticipate for this year, go ahead and write it in the comments. That way I can add it to my wish list. And if you care to know about some of my most anticipated reads for the year, or just books on my wish list, I don't have a whole lot for this year because I'm really trying to focus in on my backlist. But I've got The Myth Makers on there, Where Sleeping Girls Lie, One of Us Knows, When Among Crows, Buried Deep, the Stardew Valley Cookbook, and then the Adventure Time and Fiona and Cake Comic Compendiums, Volume 1. So yeah, those are mine. And here I'm just finishing up the series tracker where I kind of catalog how far I am in a book series. So finally, for the actual review pages, again, kind of keeping it a little bit more simple. I thought about doing like full color illustrations for these books, but I'm gonna keep it black and white. And then I printed out these little book images and affixed them to the pages. And yeah, I don't know if I'll add color to the spreads in my other ones. Who knows? As usual, just gonna let the spirit move me. And yeah, so I read Grimoire Girl this year and Shift, and this video obviously is taking place in the past, and I, voice over Victoria, am looking at this from the future. So I have actually since finished another book. I finished Dust, which is the third installment in the Silo series by Hugh Howey, and Shift is the second book in that series. Grimoire Girl was a nice light read. Hilary Burton Morgan has kind of this natural storytelling ability. I didn't connect a lot with the book, but I still found it inspiring, and I just really enjoyed listening to what she had to say. And then Shift. So the Silo series is really interesting. It's a dystopian series set in the future, and essentially these people are living underground in a silo, and there's a lot more going on than they may have initially been led to believe, and the entire series is just about them figuring out the mystery of their human past. So I really have thoroughly enjoyed this series. Like I said, I just finished up book 3. Book number 1 was pretty slow paced. Book 2 I enjoyed because it gives great insight into the history of the events of the silo. And then book 3 was a lot faster paced with a lot more information. And yeah, it's just a great series. So I took a diagram that I found on Hugh Howey's website of the silo and altered it a little bit with some of the knowledge that I have from the other books. And then on the right there, I have a little cryopod, which is a pretty integral part of the story in Shift. So here is the final product. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I stuck to my original plan and I kept it simple for me. I know this might not be simple for everyone, but for me it is. And I tried my best to ignore all the little mistakes, and I'm just focusing on the fact that this is now a bit of a more fun way for me to keep track of what I'm reading and my thoughts on it. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and please let me know if you'd like to see anything else like this. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.